Long before cities learned how to sleep under electric lights, and before people measured time by glowing screens, there was a lake that reflected the sky as clearly as a mirror reflects a face. Its name was West Lake. Tonight, if you are listening to this story while the world around you grows quiet, imagine that lake resting under a soft mist. The water barely moves. Lanterns sway gently along the shore. Somewhere in the distance, a bell rings once, then fades into the night. This is not a story meant to be rushed. It is a story meant to be felt slowly, like breathing in calm air before sleep. Before we begin, if you enjoy stories that help you relax, unwind, and drift gently into rest, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Your support helps us continue sharing quiet stories like this one. Stories meant to bring comfort rather than noise. Now, let us begin. This is the story of a love that crossed boundaries no one was meant to cross. A love between a spirit who had lived for 1,000 years and a human whose life passed like a single season. It is a legend whispered through centuries, told in opera houses, painted on silk, and carried by the wind over water. Her name was Bai Suzhen. She was not born human. Yet she understood the human heart more deeply than most. She had cultivated her spirit for centuries beneath mountains and rivers, watching dynasties rise and fall, watching the world change without ever truly touching it. Until one spring day, beneath a sky filled with soft rain, she chose to step into the mortal world. West Lake welcomed her quietly, as if it had been waiting. And there, among umbrellas and fading footsteps, destiny began to move. Before we follow that destiny any further, it is worth remembering this: not all legends are born from grand events. Some begin quietly, without witnesses, without prophecy, without warning. This story does not start with thunder or miracles. It begins with an ordinary moment, one that could easily be forgotten. A shared umbrella. A few polite words. A brief pause in the rain. And yet, it was precisely this simplicity that made everything else inevitable. Because when a spirit who has lived for centuries chooses to step into a human life, even the smallest moment becomes heavy with consequence. Every smile carries risk. Every promise bends the natural order just a little more. Bai Suzhen did not know how this story would end. She only knew that for the first time in 1,000 years, her heart was no longer quiet. And so, she stayed. Bai Suzhen had seen countless springs, yet the spring at West Lake felt different. The rain that day did not fall heavily. It drifted down like silk threads, barely touching the surface of the water before disappearing. She stood at the edge of the bridge, dressed in white, her presence blending so naturally into the scenery that even the lake seemed unaware she was there. She had not come seeking love. For centuries, she had cultivated her spirit with a single goal: understanding the world beyond herself. Humans fascinated her. Their brief lives, their emotions that burned so brightly and vanished so quickly, their ability to love without calculation or fear of loss. It was curiosity that led her here. Nothing more. Then she saw Xu Xian. He was hurrying across the bridge, holding his books close to protect them from the rain. There was nothing remarkable about him at first glance. No noble bearing, no heroic presence. Yet something about his expression stopped her breath. His face carried a quiet kindness, the kind that comes not from ambition, but from sincerity. When their eyes met, time seemed to slow, as if the rain itself hesitated. Xu Xian offered her his umbrella without hesitation, unaware that this small gesture would bind his fate to hers. Their conversation was simple, polite, and entirely ordinary, yet beneath every word flowed something unspoken, something neither of them could name. They met again, and then again, until the meetings no longer felt like chance. Bai Suzhen chose to remain in the human world. She married Xu Xian, not in a grand ceremony, but with sincerity and quiet joy. Together they opened a small medicine shop, treating neighbors with patience and care. Bai Suzhen learned to live as humans do, measuring days by sunrise and sunset rather than centuries. She learned to worry about small things, to find happiness in routine, to feel warmth in moments that once would have seemed insignificant. For the first time in 1,000 years, she felt at home. Yet peace rarely lasts long when it challenges the order of the world. A monk named Fahai arrived in the town. His gaze sharp, his beliefs unwavering. To him, the line between human and spirit was not meant to be crossed. He sensed what Bai Suzhen truly was, and though he did not act immediately, he planted doubt in Xu Xian's heart. Doubt grows quietly. During the Dragon Boat Festival, tradition demanded that protective wine be shared. Bai Suzhen knew what it would reveal, yet she could not refuse without raising suspicion. When Xu Xian drank beside her, fear tightened her chest, not for herself, but for the truth he might see. When her true form was revealed, Xu Xian collapsed, overwhelmed not by danger, but by disbelief. The woman he loved had become someone he could not understand. Love does not always survive truth. Refusing to accept fate, Bai Suzhen defied the heavens themselves to save him, sacrificing her strength, her balance, and her future. Xu Xian lived, but the cost had already been paid. Fahai intervened, convinced he was restoring harmony, and Bai Suzhen was sealed beneath the Leifeng pagoda, separated from the world she had learned to love. Above ground, seasons passed. Below, time stood still. Her sister, Xiaoqing, vowed never to forget, never to forgive, and never to stop believing that love should not be punished simply for existing. Years turned into decades. And decades into legends. People walked past the Leifeng pagoda without knowing what rested beneath it. Some felt a strange heaviness in their chest when they stood too close, as if the stones remembered something sorrowful. Xu Xian grew old. His hair turned white, his hands unsteady, but his memories never faded. In his dreams, he often returned to West Lake on that rainy day, holding an umbrella he no longer owned. Speaking to a woman dressed in white who smiled at him without blame. Bai Suzhen remained beneath the pagoda, neither angry nor resentful. Love had taught her patience greater than any cultivation ever could. She waited, not for release, but for understanding. Some say that one day, the pagoda cracked. Others say the story ends in silence. Perhaps the truth does not matter. What matters is this: love once existed, quietly and sincerely, between two beings from different worlds. And for a brief moment, it was enough. As this story comes to an end, allow your thoughts to slow and your breathing to soften. Let the rain over West Lake fade into silence. Thank you for listening. May your night be calm, your dreams gentle, and your rest deep. Good night.